Yeah, the first goal I expected.
Right.
I expected that they could and would score first.
Right.
There would be a lot of pressure. But I expected that Boston would withstand it and score.
Right.
So the second half was totally, I have to say, it was a blur.
A blur. A blur.
Yeah, yeah.
A technicality problem, as they say in TV, right? Yeah, it was a blur. I watched that tape, I'm going to be honest, about 5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to watch it this weekend, but I said I'll save it.
Yeah.
I'll save it for June 1st.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Yeah.
Hey,
congratulations.
No,
Are you saying you're saving it for June 1st because that might be your last victory?
No. I'm saying I'm going to watch 2 victories in a row.
Oh, okay. Nothing wrong with that.
I was at St. David's yesterday watching Rangers and St. David's cricket.
Right.
And, minding my business watching cricket. And Liverpool fan Gennaro Tucker on the field decides to remind me that it's never over until it's over. I said, shouldn't you be concentrating on
the game? You need to, because he done the same thing yesterday.
He did it again?
No, they were built off of 126 and Bill St. Davis off of 108. Because St. Davis walked off the field, thought the game was over.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
It's all good.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah, good sportsman. Win, lose, or draw. Joining us also is Mr. Craig Critchlow, a gentleman that's been working with you. Well, you've been working with his son and him being a father, Mr. Craig Critchlow. If you got some good news you want to share to Bermuda, explain to our listeners what it's all about and the program that you've put him through, meaning the son.
Yeah, just in brief, before Craig can give you the details, but in 2010, I was introduced to Craig's son. Craig and his wife approached me about to have a meeting about potential pathways for their son, who has a lot of potential, had a lot of potential at that time. So basically, it was just a relationship from there of advice and preparation and training, and basically, so now we have a situation where he's just recently signed for Premier League club Watford.
That's huge news. Both of you so humble. Watford. Obviously, the program has worked since 2010. The hard work, the dedication, the time putting it in. You guys saw something special. Either one can answer that first, and then I'll go with the next question.
Yeah, I always knew that if I did have a son, that we would push him towards football, the game that I loved as well.
Right.
So I just wanted to see him do well in it, enjoy it, and get something out of the game. So we started off 11 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, me and my wife were just looking at video just yesterday that I found that we were in the house and he was kicking the ball around and I was telling him left foot, left foot. And he, as just learning how to walk, that was the start of it all.
Right.
So it's been a journey. The journey is definitely not over. No. It's a lot more to go, but it's been a long process to where we are now.
Right.
We met Kenny back in 2009, 2010. A good friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, approached me and said, hey, I see something in your son. And, like most dads, I would say, I don't believe that. That's impossible.
Right.
So he actually set us up to meet one day. And Kenny, I think I was going abroad with my wife and my son to England for a camp.
Okay.
And the day that we were about to leave, got a phone call from Kenny and said, I need you to come in and I want to show you something. I said, Kenny Thompson, Houston, what's this? So when we both got there, I told him, I'm leaving 6 o'clock to go to England. He said, come in. We went in and I was blown away by the package that he showed us. I mean, it was something that I'd never seen before from any football club in Bermuda. It was just amazing. And from then I said, this is where we need to be. So we left there. And from there, it's been, 10 years later?
Yeah.
So what happened to the trip to England?
We still been.
We're still at the airport.
It was amazing, but not that amazing.
Like sound like you canceled the trip. Like,
You didn't hear. I didn't say
no.
So it's been a wonderful experience.
Right.
You know, I saw things that I never heard about in Bermuda football before. The structure, the idea. We both own the same idea. If you have something, if you have someone that has that specific talent, then you need to focus full on it.
Right.
And so that's what me and my wife always said. Let's focus, find our son's talent, and go all in.
Right.
And he was of the same idea. So that was like, wow, okay. Here's someone that's known in Bermuda for football, and if he is on the same wave track as I am, or wavelength, it's a marriage made in heaven, not a marriage.
But let me ask this question, because as a young person, you want to make sure they have everything within and around the game. How much of the education part played importance in the fact that you wanted your son to make it as far as possibly in football?
Well, education has always been the forefront of my life. My father's an educator, my mother, my brother, and I'm an educator as well. So it's always in the forefront of whatever we do. But me and my wife, because everything's been done with her, partnership. We always said that we'd never punish him with football. Never use that as an excuse to say, you know, you can't play football. You got bad grades. That's something we're gonna have to work on. Never punish him with football.
Right.
So that was our idea. So if he never did anything bad in school. But if he ever did, that was our idea that we was gonna take into. So it worked out pretty well.
Do you think with your family being in an education family that helped him? Sounds like it.
Well, yeah, definitely, because he knew the serious extent of education, that he needed to pay attention, and he had to get good grades in order for him to excel. That was one half of it, but then it was also the football half.
Right.
So it was a very good balance.
Right. Now, Kenny, once the things were in place, you guys put together a plan. You've been together for like 9-10 years. Where did he start first? And obviously he's ended up with Watford now. Where did he start? Was it in Spain or was it in England?
Yeah, basically it started after that he joined the program at BAA.
Right.
That I had just been appointed as the football director there at that time, and as well the idea around that was that I would manage the entire program, and then circumstances dictated that I had to coach one of the teams, and I was coaching that team. That team had a core of players that had a lot of potential. So for 2 years, I was coaching Kane and the others in that particular team. After the first year, it was amazing, because after the first year, almost the entire youth program went on a tour to Holland, Germany, and Belgium, and so these tours that I've been doing since 1997, right up until the present day, every year, are designed to give the players the exposure of what it's like to play against top opponents. You know, our players, our elite players in Bermuda, there's a small group of players and a small group of teams, so you don't get a consistency in challenge matches. So the idea to go to Europe is to challenge the player, to let them feel the real deal. And so when they came back from that tour, coincidentally, I had just formed a relationship with the Club Cornea in Barcelona. And so for the rest of that season, we were pretty much on a plane every 3 months. You know, we came back from the European tour in late August, early September, and then in October we were in Barcelona, and then in February we had those guys here.
Yeah, he just has a crazy knack of saying, okay, we guys are traveling. Let's go. And luckily he had a core group of parents that were behind him 110%.
Yeah.
So that's
He
important.
could get away with that type of stuff.
The current joke is that, you know, I will approach a group on Wednesday and say we're flying on Saturday.
I believe it too, you know.
A lot of situations were almost like that. You know, it was like really short notice.
Right.
But that core group of parents were real go-getters.
Right.
They worked extremely hard to make each of these things happen. So, you know, we were back and forth pretty much that whole season. And then the next year, Kane was one of 5 players that had left Bermuda to go to Spain.
Right.
And there, that's when the real kind of work happened in terms of being in that environment.
The jungle.
That's so challenging. Yeah, the football jungle. It's
Right.
literally like a football jungle. So challenging. You have to work so hard, and you have to maintain a certain quality to get the minutes to be in certain teams and the teams that they play against and so on. And it was all designed to give the players that exposure, that opportunity to maximize their development and maximize their potential, and put them in a position that when contract age comes around, that they're in a better position to be seen and to
Recognized.
be recognized as having something that maybe other players don't have.
Right.
Each player is very unique, Kenny, and coaches look at different players, and something stands out. What was unique about King?
He had so much ball control. He, as Craig pointed out from the start, he was saying left, right.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other thing. You almost didn't know whether he was right-footed or left-footed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Actually, one of the Watford coaches, when we went up, I asked him, what foot do you play with? Because he was so amazing with either.
That's only 11 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
practice.
yeah, exactly. And that's the
10,000
important.
hours.
Yeah, that's the important thing is that in child development, a lot of stuff happens, and early they're ripe for kind of
Learning. Yeah.
certain things. Yeah, yeah. So that Craig did it from the very start shows that if you do it early enough, then it becomes something natural.
Yeah.
And when he was at Cornell, I remember one training session that the groups were training together, and they had a competition to see who can kick the furthest. And Kane was probably 13 or 14 at that time, and some of the players that were involved in it were 17, 18. And Kane won, kicking with what I consider to be his left foot, his weaker foot,
Right.
the left foot. So he kicked the furthest with his
weakest.
quote-unquote weakest foot.
Wow.
And you know what? What's amazing is I would always get people ask me, for advice, and I said it's simple, practice.
Yeah. But in your case, you practiced 11 months.
Well, yeah.
That's an advantage.
What do you think? What do you think other boys and girls are being taught
Overseas.
overseas?
Yeah, exactly right. But in Bermuda, we probably start, remember, 3 or 4. You're starting 11 months. So this is pays off with Ken's programs as well.
Yeah, definitely. And even when he had went over there, he left Bermuda as probably maybe one of the top 10 boys for his age. When he ever got over to Spain, he was an average. But he had to grow as well.
So that growth obviously puts him in place now with Watford. What's his response now that he's going to be a member for Watford in the Premier League, English Premier League?
As it's always been, humility. He just says, I have to get on with it. That's it. Are you excited? Yeah, I'm excited. But he knows it's bigger things. It's not. This is not the peak.
Yeah.
No.
So when does things start going into place with him and Watford?
Well, he's due to return end of June for preseason, and he'll be around the first team, and we'll train with them. They'll go on tour. We haven't gotten the official itinerary yet, but that should be coming along with. I guess he's going to be getting a diet plan as well, because that's also important. It's not just about the
nutrition,
the athletic side. It's nutrition. It's psychology. Me and my wife, she should be a certified psychologist. Sports psychologist.
Yeah.
Sports therapy.
Should be overwhelmed in a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the thing as well is that when we talk about what happened when he first came as well, one of the first things that I did with Kane, because he was at PHC, and came to BA from PHC, and I think he was at PHC as a forward. And he's really technical, so he can score a lot of goals. He's scoring a lot of goals. And the first thing I did with him and another boy at BA that BAA already had a player who was a forward,
Mhm.
who was like the go-to guy before I got there. And Kane was pretty much considered to be the go-to guy in his team as well.
Mhm.
And both of them were forwards. So the first thing I did with both of them, I dropped them back. So the one player, Eric, who I dropped back into more like a ball-playing centre back, and Kane into a holding midfield role.
So
And,
me and my wife are.
yeah, and of course, as a parent, so like,
What are you doing?
what's going on here?
Yeah.
My son normally scores all the goals and stuff, and so I had to explain that for their all-around football education, I had to put them in a position where they can see the game better, not just rely on somebody getting them the ball and then they can score a lot of goals. Because at the end of the day, you might score 50 or you might score 100 goals in Bermuda. If you can't see the game in a certain way, then by the time you go to a place like Spain or somewhere like that, where you have to combine technique and football intelligence, then maybe you've missed that football awareness, football intelligence part. So that was a calculated move to kind of get him to see the game a lot better, because I said to them that at the end of the day, if he does end up somewhere as a forward later on, then he's a more intelligent forward.
Yeah. And that's what you need.
Yeah.
Let's take a commercial break, and we come back. We'll hear more about Kane and his success with Kenny's team regarding Barcelona's programs, and his father obviously being proud. And again, congratulations for Kane being selected for Watford, and I'm sure we'll hear more about him in the upcoming season. Let's take a commercial break, and we'll be back after this.
Radio on Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Baston.
Craig, let me ask you this. You met Kenny 10 years ago. Did you envision this will really happen for your son Kane? I mean, obviously you looked at the program, you were ecstatic when Kenny introduced it to you, but do you think your son will be where he is now while going through Kenny's program?
Good question. I always envisioned that he would be going somewhere, whether it be Europe or America. And I would probably say, without running into Kenny, we probably would not have gone this route. Yeah, I once told him when he first came up to BA, he had my son in his team and his daughter and Eric and Chi and the rest of the guys that were there already. And I said, Kenny, if you can make this team play football like Barcelona, I'm going to call you Jesus.
Since then?
And what happened?
yeah, that was the next minute.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, but Jesus now, right?
Yeah.
What sort of advice, Craig, do you give to parents who have some young ones coming on, male and female, started off at a young age like your son, going through Kenny's program? What sort of advice you give them to see Kenny and advise them going forward, the sacrifices and things of that sort?
Well, definitely. He knows what he's talking about. I consider him probably the best coach in Bermuda right now. You know, and he knows what he's talking about. It's a risk. Every parent has to know it's a risk. 50-50. It can go good or it can go bad. Whether or not you take that leap, that's up to you.
And when you say bad, not bad as in like not making it, but just the challenges ahead of because of other athletes, other players there.
The sacrifices.
Right. Okay.
You know, both of we understand sacrifice because he's done what I've done. So his wife and children are going off. I actually went off with my son.
I remember that.
Went to Spain for a year. Went to England for a year. That's loss of wages. So it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So if you're not ready to make that sacrifice, then that dream can never become a reality.
Right.
You know.
Were your son able to learn another language at the same time?
Yes.
Especially being young, it helps even better.
Yeah, that was another key component of us sending him to Spain. I always thought it was important that he learn another language. You know, the culture. I wanted him to be immersed in the culture. So when he first went over, it was hard because that was the first group that had ever left to do something like that. We were just fortunate because we ran into a wonderful gentleman who decided to take my son for 6 months in his home with his wife, with his son, with his daughter. And he said, Craig, we're not going to speak any English. My wife doesn't speak any English. And by the time, I think 3 months later, Kane was Skyping us and he was speaking Spanish.
Wow.
He was learning Catalan. He was going to the school where all the Barcelona athletes go to, Leo 13. And he was running into future stars right now. So he's going to school with players that are now playing professional football.
Right.
So that helped him. That accelerated everything. Without that gentleman, and I don't want to name drop anything, but he was very important in Kane's development socially.
Right.
While he's in Spain.
That's important. That's very important.
Yeah, the difficulty as well, the challenge, as Craig said, is based on it takes a lot of commitment. It's a big sacrifice. Right. It's definitely not easy. Craig's wife Suzette, always remembers one of the first phrases. You have to cut the umbilical cord. That was basically that. You have to let them go. We can't just keep them here and try to protect them, and then at some when they get older, say, okay, now it's time to leave. By the time they haven't developed and had the exposures and experiences, and even I was always explaining to the players while they were here how difficult top football is. But you can imagine if your only exposure is here in Bermuda. I say I can speak that 1,000,000 words and they won't get it. They only get it when they experience it and when they feel it. So the first time we went to Cornea, this was right after the team was, I think, successful in the Kappa here. So they were feeling very good about themselves, and we played against Cornea, and the worst thing happened in that first game, first experience in Barcelona for them. The worst thing happened coming from Bermuda, where kind of big fish in small pond mentality.
Mm.
The worst thing that happened was that we scored twice within the first 5 minutes, and I say it's the worst thing that happened because now what do you think? They're like, Coach Thompson's telling us that this is so difficult. This is not difficult. We're already on this level.
Right.
But what happened was that in very quick time,
Massacre.
we were 5-2 down.
It's a massacre.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, we scored one to make it 5-3. But, if you ask Kane and if you ask those players, what the first words that I said to them in the change room afterwards, just randomly walk up to Kane and ask him, and the rest they will be able to tell you to this day. And basically, those words were, "Can you hear me now?" You didn't hear me when I was saying you have to do more, even though you were winning Capo, even though you were winning matches every Saturday. You didn't hear me when you were doing those things. Can you hear me now? And so that's the idea behind these trips and these tours to play against these top opponents, is to get them to feel and really realize how difficult and challenging football can be.
Right.
Because again, I can sit here and speak it in a million words and they won't get it.
For sure.
So that sort of thing is important as well, and that was also part of those sacrifices for the parents, because they were really working hard to make these things happen.
Yeah. Kenny, now that all this hard labor has been paying off for you for the last few years, into a decade or so, having Kane come through your program speaks volumes, and credit to you. You've been doing this for some time. What's it like now, people coming up to you saying, I want to have my daughter or son 10, 11 years old come on board now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always open for that. I think maybe more people might look at the situation and want to find out details a little bit more. Maybe, sometimes it's human nature that we have to see something
True
first.
That's Bermuda, yeah.
I have to say that in addition to Kane recently with his announcement, that over the years also, if you look back, I opened the door for Reggie to go to Ipswich.
That's right.
And now we have people like Willie Clemens, who is playing in Sweden. I've been a part of Willie's development since he was like Roger Lee, who is playing in Latvia.
Latvia.
He was a part of the academy program that I had back then. And there's a host of players that in situations like that, and or in situations where they're now actually back in Bermuda with college degrees. One thing that made me proud with the BA first team early in the season was that we had a starting 11, and 9 of them have college degrees that have come through the academy/BA program.
Well done.
People like Caleb Miners, who is in Italy doing a football program and studying over there as well.
Right.
So there are a host of players that are on good in good situations, either still kind of on the journey or in maybe some lower league teams, and at the very least that they have college degrees. And that's the whole idea from the start. I say to parents and I say to players that your goal in life has to be to leave Bermuda,
right.
To go for it outside of Bermuda, not to have a goal in life that I'm going to stay here to win the FA Cup.
No.
If you have to come back to Bermuda after you've done all of that, and you try to win the FA Cup, then fine.
Right.
But have this goal to leave Bermuda,
Sure.
To experience it. Because for me, I'm like this. I say to everybody, for young people, go for it, whatever it is. Go for it. In this case, it's football. Go for it. I'm never going to say to a young player, you shouldn't dream to be a professional player. You shouldn't dream, and you shouldn't try to go for it.
Right.
Go for it. You don't know where it's going to land, because people look at football a little bit different from other aspects of life.
Right.
What if I'm a teacher as well? What if a student comes into my classroom and says to me that, Mr. Thompson, I want to be a doctor? Should I say to that student, no, you cannot be a doctor. I don't think you can be a doctor. No, you have to go for it. And it's the same for football. Go for it. Understand what it takes. Go as far as you can. Be as ambitious as you can. And along the way, going for a football professionalism might lead to a college degree in some form, or you can stay in football in other aspects. So
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, gents, I have to wrap up. We've got other guests coming in. I just want to.
I got one thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I know he's here for another reason, but
yeah.
Mr. Thompson signed on for a new club.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which one's this?
He's going back to a Earl Stomping Ground.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson is now back at North Village. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Look forward to you get a closer haircut now. I had to look to see if yeah. But obviously, going back to somewhere where you've been before must be exciting because you get to rejuvenate all those things that you had in place that probably have been impressed upon, but now it's a chance to see how far they've gotten.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really exciting. North Village has a special place for me. I did play for North Village in my last season of football in Bermuda. And I was there before as football director. The transition from North Village happened as a result of taking the role of youth director at the Bermuda Football Association. So, there a lot of the things are still in place there. And so now just kind of, they've come a ways since then. Since 2002, I've come a long way as well. So I'm not the same person that and the same level that I was back then. So hence now the catchphrase that it's now North Village Vision 2.0.
Right.
There you go.
Okay.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right.
Congratulations, Mr.
Thank you very
Critchlow.
much. Thank
I'm
you
sure
very
we
much.
can have you on again. Hopefully have you on and just on the same time.
Oh, great.
You can work on that.
Yeah.
All right. Gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll take a commercial break and we'll be back after this.
Radio on Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Baston.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Again, congratulations to Kane Cropwell, his father Craig Critchlow, and Craig Critchlow, and Kane Critchlow, and of course Kenny Thompson, and the fine job they've done. Congratulations, gentlemen. Joining me now on the phone is the president of the Bermuda Half Marathon Derby, Gina Tucker. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Gentlemen.
This is the week. We are ready, embracing the 110th anniversary of the Marathon Derby happening this year, coming out of St. George's at 9 a.m. How are things going thus far? What are the numbers looking like, and how is your team putting things together with only 4 days remaining?
Yeah, listen, thank God we started way back in September, so we're pretty organized, although you can imagine we're scrambling a little bit to make sure little things are in place and ready to go on Friday. We definitely would look forward to anyone who's ready to volunteer, to support us in volunteering at water stations, relay changeovers, anywhere it's possible for them to volunteer, even on the field. We're looking at approximately 800 people participating, and we are still open for more. So we always know how it is. Some people like to sign up late. That's just what they do. They wait until the last minute, and we're okay with that. So go online and sign up. BermudaMarathon.com, it's still open. People can sign up and register there. So we're ready, and we're ready. We're excited. The committee is gearing up. I think all of Bermuda's gearing up. I'm hearing more soca these last few days, more soca.
Well, that's a good sign, Dan, right?
So that is a very good sign. Sure.
Right. Now, this coming Wednesday, there's going to be some pickup at the park, Victoria Park, from 5:30 to 6:30, if I'm correct. All right. Now, that's for the late registration people?
That's right. Anyone who has not picked up a bag as yet, anyone who has not picked up a bill, or anyone who is registering now late should collect the bill, the registration bag, goodie bag, all of the goodies there at Victoria Park. That's Wednesday the 22nd, 5:30 to 6:30. We expect to see that's the last time that we will be issuing bags, bibs, and anything else.
In addition to that, again, the times, let me get it correct. The times were from 5:30 to 6:30 on Wednesday, and that's the last time that's going to happen. Also, just want to promote that the Siblings Trophy and Siblings Family Relay Trophy will be on hand this year, if I'm correct?
Oh, yes, definitely on hand. We will, of course, present all of our prizes on 30th, that's Thursday, the 30th of May, at the prize presentation, which will be held in August from 5:30 to 7. And we will present the winner of the Siblings Award along with the J. Donovan Perseverance Award and all those other awards and prizes that we will be giving away at the reception. So people can look forward to all of those prizes.
Well done, well done. In addition, with the event happening this time in the East, things are still on par to get underway at 9. The cycles leave at 10 to 9, followed by the runners at 9. And then as they make their way on the course from the east, ending up at the Bernard Park, correct?
That is correct. That is the route. We will make our way into the city and through to the park.
I know I'm just going to put you on the spot here. Earl Bays and I had a conversation last week on Inside Sports about the time of the event starting next year or thereafter. We had some people WhatsApp us and saying, yeah, move the event forward. I know your committee has met and you haven't discussed it in depth, but hopefully we can see what happens going forward after the race and maybe something to be looking forward for 2020 and beyond.
Yes, well, I think we've been considering it for some time now. We've listened to the voices of the people and especially the participants, because I think they're the ones that we really have to listen to. So we've been keen to hear their voices, and we are considering it very, very seriously.
Okay. Any final comments you'd like to add, President, regarding the race, as this will be the 110th event this coming Friday?
I say this is awesome. 110. It is an honor to be the president at this time in history. I thank the sponsors who have really stepped up to the plate and assured that we are able to deliver a race like none other. Thank you to my awesome comedians. They are the best. And my cast team people who have really helped us to pull this off. And thanks to Bermuda, everyone will be on the sidelines. I look forward to seeing everyone on the sidelines. Our volunteers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a holiday, and yet they still come out and support us first thing in the morning. So I'll look forward to seeing everyone out on Friday mornings as we come down.
And as you know, this is the start to our summer in Bermuda. So this is the biggest running event of its history in Bermuda, and the start to our summer. So of course, all walks of life will be coming out of the east as they make their way to the west regarding the finish line at Bernards Park. We wish you all the best again on Friday. I just want to shout out to Cal Steed. We did a quick interview with him on Saturday as he signed up, and this will be his 29th running of the event. It would have been his 30th consecutive, but due to minor surgery he had a few years ago, he couldn't run that year. But other than that, Cal Steed's just going to be his 29th running of this event. He loves it. That's great. I can't even do one.
So many awesome stories. Raymond Mean, I want to shout out to him because he is unable to run this year, and I think he's run that many or more over the years, and so he's unable to run, and he'll come down in a different vehicle. He'll come down and just by a different means. But I'm recognizing him, Cal Speed, awesome. We have so many who've been out there really pushing and sticking to the wicket on this race. So big up to them. Big up to them.
All right. Thank you very much again. Come to Bernard Park, to Victoria Park on Wednesday. The last sign up from 5:30 to 6:30. Come get your swag bags, information regarding the event for Friday. Again, it starts at 9 o'clock out of St. George's this year to start to Bermuda's first summer of the year and the biggest running event in our history. Congratulations, Jen. Keep up the good work. We're going to sign off now because it's news time. And when we come back after news, we will have Mr. Peter Dunn, the president of the Bermuda Bicycle Association, join us in the studio. We'll be back after this.
Inside Sports Talk Radio with Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Beeston.
And, and welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Joining us in the studio right now is the president of the Bermuda Bicycle Association, Mr. Peter Dunn. The St. Clair Patrick Memorial race is just upon us. This will be, I think, his 20th year under his name.
Yep.
And the event itself, I think, 30 plus years or so.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that much time's flown by.
Sure.
And but yeah, it's going to be another great event. And actually, Sinclair's widow and one of his daughters are going to be our award presenters on the morning as well. Which is so. The last couple of years, we've been trying to bring people who have a connection, from years back into the event, and so yeah, it should be a nice way to recognize I guess more to remind the younger riders who didn't have any experience with Sinclair to kind of to bring it back, remember people who've done things in the sport, those who came before you are the ones on whose shoulders you're standing. So
that's true.
We keep trying to bring that back into the event. So it should be a good race. Great to hear the weather report. Thank you very much. But it's and northeast from whatever, and low 70s or mid 70s. That's going to be a sweet ride.
Right.
A little pushing breeze behind, coming out of the east end. Push the riders into town, and so we've run it twice, I think, from the east end.
Correct.
And the fastest we've had is just under 25 minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised if we were, you can only get so fast, but
right.
We'll probably be in the low 24 minutes, I think.
Really?
There are a bunch of guys who are, so I'm talking about the men's race, which is the fastest of the events, and that will, there are a bunch of guys who are, somebody wants to win his fourth, and then somebody, and then a couple of young guys, so Dominique Mayo wants to win, as always, it's a race, so
right.
Everybody wants to win. But so he's trying to build on his, history with the event.
Mm-hmm.
And then Caden Hopkins is back in town, which is great. And, he's had a great season of racing for his university in the States. And Connor White, who's also a university student and has in Canada and has been racing this season with a club up there. And he's super strong. So, at least I know those three guys are going to be going at it sort of hammer and tongs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that tends to make the race that much faster. And then, then there are plenty of other young guys who are going to be, pushing for that event as well.
Right.
So.
Obviously, you mentioned that Caden being back now, having a year overseas, getting the experience, that helps for this type of event.
Yes, it does. I think the and racing is, having more racing is going to make you better at racing.
Mm-hmm.
That's like almost anything else. You can. There's no I'm racing at this point. There's not too much racing, and so he's building that experience. In the U.S. collegiate racing scene is very active, mm-hmm. and extremely high level competition. So Caden was able to, not only did he race his season with his, which is the road season for U.S. Colleges is in the spring. So he raced for his Fort Lewis College Skyhawks or something with a hawk on the end of it. And so he had a good season with that, and then he went to his regional championships, and then he went to the U.S. National Collegiate Championships the other week. A little unfortunate big crash. But it's still that, getting more time racing faster, being used to racing at the high level. And then he was part of a Pan-Caribbean team that I went to Dominican Republic back in February, which was a very high-level UCI race. And so, again, those are more events where the pace is really high and decisions are really quick. And, I think that, he's obviously building on his skill set and
right.
Is showing huge progress, so that's good.
As for Dominic Mayer, he's been the island's #1 rider for a couple of years now. His expectation is to obviously win again for the 4th year. Do you think Caden will give him a challenge?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's never in this event. It's not worth discounting anybody. I mean, we know
Right.
that Dominique has, at least has demonstrated that he is the best kick, the final sprint. Uh, when it turns onto Cedar Avenue, you don't want him to be next to you, slightly ahead of you, or just behind you, because he is just capable of producing this sudden burst of power that will get him across the line before others. And that's just everybody knows what his strengths are, So it's up to the other riders to if they want to beat him. So like you don't take a sprinter to the sprint, right? So you want to find other ways of getting him, isolating him, which is probably not the best. I mean, Tyler Butterfield tried isolating him last year, and that
That didn't work.
didn't go so well. But if with a deep field, where there's more interaction during the course of it. I mean, it's one thing for local race, say the other weekend, where Dom and one of his teammates were able to make a great split in the race, and then split the event even further, and then together the two of them, kind of took on the other guy who was in the break, and they basically pounded him into submission. And then the two of them crossed the line together, and so Dom's like happy to have his teammate, take the first place to be the first to cross the line. This event is very different. There are no gratuitous wins in this. So everybody, if you're coming into that finish, everyone's gunning for the win. So I think for these other guys, they're going to have you make these very short-term alliances. Like, how do we work together so that one of us can beat the other guy? And then at some point that unfolds, and then your strategy keeps changing as you get closer to the end. So
Right.
it should be very good.
What is different in this race? This coming out of the East as opposed to the West. This is going to be the third time. The first time was 2015, 2017, now 2019. Two different courses. What are your expectations?
Well, it's slightly shorter, I think, by a few meters, but I have ridden the Western course before, and for me it's much more difficult. The hills that coming out of the west end are shorter but sharper. So Burnt House Hill, which is like 7.5 miles or something into it, that is really hard because you're coming close to the end, and it's super gassed the whole for the short and sharp over Burnt House. Whereas the equivalent last hill coming into from the east end would be here, peaks right here at Fort Hill, and that really winds itself up slowly or gradually from the Island Construction, Devonshire Marsh sort of thing. So that it's you have that type of climbing, if you wish, or incline is you can handle that in a different way. So I think more people can survive that from the east end because it's a little more gradual. Crawl Hill is big, but when it starts at Bailey's Bay and slowly winds its way up. But Fort Scour is like boom right there. Like you're sea level, and then boom, you're like 5 pedal strokes from the top of the hill, and you're 50 meters behind everybody else. It's like, what happened? Like just a blink of an eye. Whereas this, so yeah, I mean, but it's super fast. I mean, these times are. I was trying to work on a schedule for what our finish line is going to look like and how quickly vehicles are. When each race is catching each other or such, and times are really tight.
Right. This race here, we compare this with like the half marathon. It's the biggest running race in Bermuda. Could this say that this race here is the biggest cycling race in Bermuda?
Certainly the most prestigious.
Right.
And from a public perspective, that's the one that everybody talks about. I mean, we have an event at the end of our season, which is 100 kilometers. So this one is 12.5 miles. So is that like 20K maybe? So this one, the one that we have in October, is 5 times longer. Prize money's better, and like all these other various things, and it's. But the public doesn't talk about the President's Cup, and how and who won it, even though it is the hard race. But for on Bermuda Day, everybody's out. Everybody sees it. They get a sense of what the speed is. And I guess what in our association, the message we need to be communicating to the general public is, hey, we're racing this fast and as impressively, 2 out of 4 weekends every month. So that's our work to be done to communicate the breadth of our activities. But this is definitely the most prestigious. Everybody talks about it, and one guy who's kind of not a contender any longer, but colleagues still say, "Hey, when are you going to win that Bermuda Day race?" And he's like, "Oh man, that ship has sailed." But that's what people talk about.
Right. Why is it that this one here is the most prestigious? You mentioned that the crowd, yes, all of Bermuda's out. This is the first day, like we call it our summer. Mm-hmm. Is that a part of it that Bermudans get to see the cyclists? Because your events usually early Sunday mornings or Saturday mornings. Is that a part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the crowd is being there and seeing something is much more. It's easier to believe something that you see.
True.
And so I can talk how exciting it was the last road race, or any event that we've had this year. But if people aren't there to see it and kind of experience it, they don't really get that same sense. And there is a great spirit on the day. Everybody is having a great time when you come into Front Street, and it's just it's astounding. How many people are there at 9:15 in the morning, ready to absorb the excitement of the day.
Right.
And it really is. And people they're almost hungry for the events that are coming through.
Right.
This year is going to be, people who are at their places early in the day are going to have a great series of events, because you've got the youth event that's going, the youth cycling event that's going to start from here. This is Anton Gilbert's organized, and it's going to be a little 3-miler, but that's going to start before. It'll start at 8:45 from Fort Hill here, so there'll be this dash of smaller or younger riders going through, and then our men's race comes through, the women's race comes through, and as soon as they basically are through, then the junior classic starts. And again, because I'm working on some scheduling for finish lines, the gaps between like the last runner and our last woman and the start of the junior classic is, it's only a couple minutes, and then behind the last runner coming through youth runner coming through Cedar Avenue, it's probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes until who are you guys predicting is going to win who's B&A predicting is going to win?
The marathon?
Yeah.
It looks like it could
ST?
be
Sean Trott?
Sean Trott, or it could be Lamont Marshall,
Okay, I
defending
don't know if
champion.
he's running. Is he running this year?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, so it'll be Lamont I was looking at this. He was 1:14 last year. Or
I
the year
can't remember the
before.
time. Yeah.
So, and I don't know how the running times compare to prior years. Same or
Pretty much the same.
yeah. So again, we're looking at scheduling. So it's going to be. I mean, if you're sitting on Front Street, you're just going to have kiddie bike race, men,
full of
women,
entertainment.
juniors running. Runner running in a room. By the time they're through, it's like have a snack and the parade's about to start. So it's a brilliant day.
Yeah, definitely. Good.
Good.
Oh, sorry. With that said, Peter, what's the season been like for the fraternity for cycling? What's it been like for this year?
It's good. It's been strong. It's been similar to what we've had in prior years. As I said before we came on the air, that this year we're probably down 5 riders in one category and up in another and such.
Right.
And so we recently made a small change in that we have 3 adult categories for men, A, B, and C, and we're starting our A and B races together now. Partially because the A numbers were at the very start of the season were smaller, but that's because a host of our top young guys were either off at university or otherwise occupied. But that made the race we had the other weekend. We've had 2 races I think under that structure, and been very exciting. Pushes everybody along, so it's good. So we're happy with that. Had a successful Bermuda Grand Prix, and season's unfolding. We'll get through this the event for Bermuda Day coming up, and then we start focusing on national championships. Right. And this year we have the time trial on the 23rd of June, and then the road race on the 30th of June, and the criterium championships on the 7th. So we're having 3 weeks in a row will be championship events. And then we've got a great group of juniors going and elite riders, and we're looking at international opportunities, coming down. So the Youth Caribbean or the Junior Caribbean Championships will be or planned to be in Guyana in August, which will be exciting. And right now for the Elite Caribbean Championships, that would be currently scheduled to be in Haiti, which is a little eye-opener for us.
Yeah.
But if it's not there, it'll be in Cuba. So we're confident that event will be good. And we have, great things going on. As I said, Caden was part of this Pan-Caribbean team that went to a UCI event at the end of February. And I'm actually taking another Pan-Caribbean team, this time of women, to the Vuelta Femenina Guatemala, which is the women's tour of Guatemala, and that's in 2 weeks from now. And Caitlin Conyers and Nicole Mitchell are going to be part of that, along with riders from Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Curacao, and Trinidad and Tobago. So we have a team of 6 women, and so they go to that, and that's a 5-day stage race, and that's another exciting opportunity. It's something we're trying to build to give our riders here, our top riders, opportunities to compete in UCI events where either we would have to put in a national team, which is a minimum of 6 riders, or a team of 6 riders, and we just don't have the depth to put those numbers into this level of event.
Understood.
So those things are coming along, and we have some other international opportunities we're looking at for our riders. We fully support those. We've communities supported us well, and so we're trying to compete from last summer when we hosted the Junior Caribbean Championships, it was obvious to us that there was a lot of support for the sport in the community, and so we've taken that and been able to take the funding that we have now and access to other events and give young people opportunities to grow along.
Okay.
So that's been really positive. So it's all. I'm very positive about the direction things are going.
That's good.
I'm sure there are always things that we could tweak, and I hope people who can identify things to be tweaked, and people who are willing to tweak.
Understood.
Like everything else, we're down here to do it. But it's good. It's all very positive.
Cool.
How important is team tactics on this particular race day?
Not too sure, to be honest. I think the guys who are the strongest, if you're one of the contenders, it's not so easy to rely on a teammate if you think that something is occurring that you need to be a part of. And in cycling terms, like if there's a breakaway, and your teammate has covered that, meaning that they've gotten themselves into it, and then you're thinking, is my teammate going to be able to deliver in a particular way? And because of this race is so short, that there's not a lot of time for things to unfold. It's I don't know what the equivalent of some other game is. It's like I don't know, playing slap or whatever, slapjack or something, like flip, 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 and it's gone. The whole race is done. And you're like, oh wait, so was I supposed to lead somebody out? So and then because we have a range of abilities, and if you like Connor doesn't have any teammates per se because he's riding for the he's not. Past years he's ridden as part of Winner's Edge team. But now he's riding in the kit of his club in Canada. So all of a sudden he's solo, and who's going to help him?
Right.
But the other side is who can help him, because some of these guys are so strong relative to the rest of the field. So the team tactics, I think, have more place in the traditional road race event. Maybe early on you'll see, especially coming out of the east, it's nice because you have a kind of a flat run into it. That the first couple miles, before you get to Blue Hole, and so then you'll see guys, go off the front and do something. But really, it's it's just a little prelude to the big explosion, which typically is somewhere along flats, just as you come up to Flats Hill.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
Looking at the two courses, we notice, obviously coming out of the west, most people try to make their break on that Burnt House Hill, get to the top of that, and then work their way right down. Where would you think that position would be coming out of the east? Are you still saying Flats?
Belvin's Grocery on
Flats
Variety or whatever on Flats Hill. I mean, the roads going up, feels like it flattens out, but then there's still some
Still some ways to go,
incline
yeah.
to go, and that's where I would go. And I think that a couple of years ago, the first year we ran it out of the
East,
I think it was
2015.
the first year.
Mhm.
That was kind of the deciding place, because it happened. It was
Well, Matthew and Caden went.
Yeah.
And then Caden made his move just at the top of the hill by the farm, just coming off the back hill of where, what's that place? Cable and Wallace used to be.
Yeah.
So once he made his move there, that was the second move because everybody let those two go.
Yep.
Just where you're talking about the variety
Yeah.
store. So they
Yeah.
built a
So
lead.
and it's still going up, and people are huffing and puffing,
Mhm.
and I mean the rest of the field is huffing and puffing. I mean, I'd love to do the race again, but it's really only a couple guys who are truly contending. The rest are having this great experience, and it's competitive, but it's more the environment that you're in and the excitement. And I think I noticed 2 years ago when it was the second time coming out of the East, that the East End was kind of figuring out how to do Bermuda Day in terms of spectating, because for 100 years it came
From the West.
99 or whatever,
yeah.
came from one direction,
Yeah.
and so
Actually, it didn't.
well,
it's just-
yes, excuse me, but
yeah.
in people who were alive, who might have, like in living memory, I think they call it, right?
Yeah.
So that you had this, this is where it always was, it always was, it always was. And like when it comes out of the West, it goes right past my house, so we always have something going on.
Mhm.
Friends over, and it's great to go past the house and see people partying at my house.
Mm-hmm.
But it's but then coming from the East, it doesn't go past my house, so
Right.
it's
So
like
different.
those people. And I noticed the first year, people were out in the front lawns a bit, along
Right.
like middle roads or the section. And then the second year, well, there were a lot more people, and people figured out, oh wow, we should have some folks over, and
Right.
it's a great way to sort of start their day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. I think it's lovely.
Before we wrap up, I just want to know females. Who should we look out for in the female division on Friday?
Yeah, I think that Caitlin Conyers and Cole Mitchell are the strongest. They have demonstrated that they're strongest, and again, I would like to see them, demonstrate that they're strongest because they're going to this big international event, which is going to be in a foreign country, and some of it's going to be up at altitude. So like I want them to,
Excel.
Peter Dunn wants to see them, the people that I want to see my riders do well.
Yeah.
But Jamie Lee Wright has been riding very well this year, and I think that again it's a short course, and if you get caught up in the playing tactics, oh, I'm going to go slow because I don't want. I think that's a losing strategy unless you absolutely know that you can outsprint everybody else.
Gotcha.
And you have to sprint a lot, very frequently, to know how good you are for what particular distance. There's some people who could come around the corner at the top of Church Street onto Cedar Avenue and think, oh, I got this thing wrapped. And there's someone on your rear wheel who's, who clips you at the, pips you at the line. So my suggestion is always going to be like, go as hard as you can, as long as you can. Because even if you drop everybody but one person, then you have a 50-50 chance of winning. You go in with 4 people to the finish line, you have a 25% chance of winning.
Gotcha.
So it's like play the numbers game until you know that it's to your advantage, or that you then can employ your particular skill set to be the first across the line. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure it'll be interesting either way, but I'm hoping that that we put on a good show.
I'm sure you will.
Is your registration closed now?
Nope. Runs through I think Wednesday night or so. It's for us. It's numbers across the board are pretty easy. It's just timing chips. People have registered. Just come around to my house on Thursday evening, give them the chip, or those because we're talking about maybe 60, 70 people at most in the event. It's very manageable. It's not like 800 people trying to pick up goodie bags and stuff for the run. That in itself is a logistical process. But for us, it's pretty straightforward. So we're going to keep we try to keep make it as easy on the organizers as possible by it's online registration, and people have already got their invites and everything. So I had a series of inquiries this morning. Oh, where's my invite? It's like, check your spam folder, because it all comes through a
Right.
online process, and they'll get there, and it'll be a great day, I'm sure. And
Okay.
with perfect weather, I mean,
Perfect.
this is great weather. I mean, you can make the race like 5 times longer, and it'll still feel great because
Because of
with
weather.
it in the low 70s and a little breeze from the northeast, it's going to be drier air.
It's perfect.
It's going to be really good.
For the process of elimination, has Rosanna and Ashley signed up to race?
I don't. No. As of when I looked this morning, I hadn't seen either one, and I don't think Rose hasn't. I think she raced once this year.
She's been doing a lot of running.
Yeah, I think that's her emphasis is that. And this is an issue that probably deserves a very lengthy conversation, and we internally within the Bicycle Association we talk about it a lot. So, what do we need to do to develop more opportunity or more women competitors, and that's a challenge, because and then you have athletes like say Rose, who she's a very strong runner, and I think maybe this year she's off doing some
She done
another
100 mile of the other.
I mean doing a 100-mile running event and cycling have nothing to do with each other.
No.
I mean they don't, and. I think Martina Olszewski-Bell is, she's a committed runner,
Right.
and so, there are people who have been in the sport and demonstrated that they're physically very capable, but, at a certain age we pick what we want to do, and I think that there's a lot of joy in running, and, if I could, I would,
There you go. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, and we wish you all the best on Friday. The Sinclair Crackman Memorial Cycle Race gets underway 10 to 9.
The youth race is going to start here on Middle Road at
Right.
8:45.
Right.
And then a men's start at 10 to 9 in St. George, and the women will be 3 minutes behind that.
All right.
Cool deal.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure talking
Thanks for
to
having
you.
me in.
Not a problem. We'll take a commercial break, and we come back. We'll be talking to a Tottenham Hotspur fan. We'll be back after this.
Radio, Inside Sports Talk Radio, on Power 95 FM, with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Baston.
And we were talking just during the commercial break how time is flying. You know, once the event is over, the big spectacle, meaning our running event and cycling race on Friday, May 24th. Next is Cup Match. It's around the corner, Mr. Bays, in Eastern counties. Yeah. Interesting. Time is just flying this year. Well, joining us on the phone now from overseas is Mr. Brian Silverman. He's a gentleman that is a staunch fan of the Tottenham Hotspurs, who will be playing the mighty Liverpool FC in the Champions League on June 1st. First of all, good afternoon to you, Brian, and how are you, sir?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Happy to be back on, and definitely proud of my boys.
I guess you are proud because this is the first time you guys have made it to the finals of the Champions League, correct?
Absolutely, it's the first time. It's been a historic season, ups and downs. But the heart of our team has really shown towards the end around here with those last two fixtures. So I'm happy to be on to discuss that a little bit with you guys.
Not a problem. There's been plenty of talk that since you watched the Barcelona-Liverpool game, that you took that inspiration from Liverpool and said, you know what, Tottenham can do it. Any truth to that, sir?
Well, I'll tell you, the Liverpool match with Barcelona was definitely inspirational for the game in general. It was incredible to see what they could pull off, especially in front of their home fans. What I will give you a little bit of backlash on there is that I believe that what we did in 45 minutes, already down the 1 away from home, might have been a little bit more impressive than the 4-0 at home in front of your own supporters. But I'm just saying that from a complete bias point of view.
I just need to remind you that when you first came on early in the season, Mr. Rollins made a statement about he felt that because Tottenham hadn't picked up any players, they will falter in the second half of the season, to which they finished fourth, and have made it to a major cup final.
Correct. And kudos to Tottenham. Yes, I did say that. And you start to falter in the league because at one time they were contenders in the top three with Liverpool and Man City. And then they lost like 4 games in a row and it started to take a toll on them. They saved that energy for the league, Champions League, that is. I give them credit. Now going forward, you're in the finals against Liverpool. No, I'm not worried what you do there. Next.
Well, I don't know. It's, on paper, it seems like Liverpool is the better team, but on paper, in our last 2 matchups, I mean, I got to tell you, we were the underdogs, and somehow, some way, through strategy and through getting through the adversity of all the injuries that we've had on our side, we've found a way. So while I might have been pessimistic at the start of this, once we got through the Manchester City fix, and once we got through that incredible comeback against Ajax, I got to tell you, I'm finding it hard to be pessimistic anymore. I'm in the camp that anything can happen, and I am in no way saying that Liverpool is not a phenomenal matchup. They're one of the best teams in the world, and especially in Europe, coming second place after having 97 points in the Premier League. That's completely unheard of. So with all credit that's due to Liverpool, I think it's just one game where anything can happen, and in those types of situations, we've seen in the last 2 fixtures, our boys have just somehow been able to dig deep and pull it out.
And you're right. You know, the game is decided on the field. And like Tottenham and Liverpool, there were 2 teams that were not favored to win the second leg of the semifinals of their match. And both teams have come strong and they've won. And so credit to both clubs on that. But yes, you're correct, Brian. The game is decided on the field. And, you know, all the random or banter that we can talk, it's not up to us. It's up to the 22 players plus substitutes that decide the game on June 1st. I do give credit, and Mr. Bazin I do give credit to my opposing teams, and he's correct. I said Tottenham will fill, and you filled it regarding the Premier League, but his point is valid. That's saying that you stood strong in the Champions League, because that's not an easy task, and especially the path that you guys were drawing up against and playing. I actually was playing phenomenal football. Credit to you guys, and again, you know, this being the first time for you to reach the final of the Champions League, that speaks volumes for you guys. It's just that you're going against Liverpool, and I, no disrespect, I just want to win. I need to win. I haven't won a trophy in years, and so I need to win.
I think I've got you beat in a number of years since we won a trophy, but I'll definitely give you credit for wanting it just as much, if not even more.
Understood. What's your response from your father? I talked to him the other day. He was happy for you, but what is his response like?
You mean, he's happy. I think I've almost completely turned him into a Spurs supporter. He's always texting me during the Premier League season when the games are going on. He's keeping up with the scores. I know that you speak to him about it at the gym on most mornings, and so I've not fully but almost successfully turned him into a Spurs supporter.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to work on that, Scott. I'm Brian. Sorry, I'm gonna have to work on that because that's not the way it's supposed to work. We'll have to talk to him about Liverpool. I've got Lauren at the gym, who's a Liverpool fan. I don't know any Spurs fans. Yep, there's another gentleman. Yes, there's another gentleman who's a Spurs fan. So I want to work on that, and we see what happens in the upcoming season. How's that?
That sounds good. Sounds good. You'll have a hard time. I think I can convince him.
That's understandable. Any final comments before you wrap up?
I'm very excited. Again, it's a phenomenal accomplishment that for the first time in our history that we're at such a big stage in the world. We've got our players coming back from injury. It's going to be a phenomenal day for Tottenham Hotspur and a phenomenal competition going up against, as you call them, the mighty Liverpool.
Yes, as we say, you never walk alone. You'll be walking with us then.
Correct. I will be walking with you for that 90 minutes.
Okay, I'll leave it like that. I'll leave it like that, Brian. Not a problem. Look, all the best to your team on June 1st.
You don't really mean that.
Yes, I do, Brian. I surely do.
You don't really mean that.
Well, you can understand him saying that, Brian, because he's for another team.
I'm for no one.
And regarding a different sport, he's for the opposing team that I support. So I'll just leave it like that. You're for another sport. Yeah, and so that's why he's supporting you. That's why he's supporting you in this case.
I'm not gonna lose any sleep come June 1st.
Neither am I.
The night before, nor the night after.
I can understand his plight. He's lost some sleep in other sports and other times, so that's understandable.
Soon come to an end.
It goes back and forth for sure.
Yeah. So.
Well, all the best again, Brian, on June 1st, and I'm sure I'll touch base with you before then, and I'll touch base with you on the day of and the day after. How's that?
Sounds great. Thank you for having me on again, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Not a problem. It's a pleasure having you on. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back after this.
Inside Sports Talk Radio. Inside Sports Talk Radio with Power 95 FM. With host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Basin.
You know, what's amazing about the running and cycling is that those two sports, they start like in the fall, there's season, and then they come right up around to the start of our summer.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people like yourself, credit to you, and then others who go out and cover the event to give us up-to-dates on the sport year-round. But when it comes to this one, the May 24th or the Bermuda Day holiday, it's like everyone comes out and supports the cyclists, right? All walks of life, cheering on the cyclists, cheering on the runners, 30, 40 cyclists doing their best out for 25 to 28 minutes, pound the pavement. And we're like, dang, these guys ride fast. And it's all the hard work they put in all year. And they have their best outfits on, got the bikes ready, making sure the brakes are tuned, the legs are tuned, the body's in shape, the mind's there from the cycling perspective. And then when you get into the running, you know, the body, of course, again, and the mind, and you're tuned in with running 13.1 miles. It's amazing what our athletes go through.
Yeah, but you know what's,
they're amateurs. It's great.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about that is the same people do the same races week in and week out.
Ah, I see what you're saying.
So for us to not know who they are or what they do, what speeds they go, and all that is crazy, because some of these events don't get covered like they should, and then all of a sudden you come to May 24th and everybody who's ignored it throughout the entire year wants to be first, wants to be up front. And some of these organizations,
you're talking about the athletes?
I'm talking in general, media.
Okay, got you.
And some of these sports just let them do it because that's who they want to be with. But they've ignored you all year.
I see what you're saying.
All year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
give you the coverage.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, it's, we'll cover you, we'll do this, we'll do that. So, hey, you know, but these are the same people. So, names that are listed off by the organizers, who are the top names, those are all some of these people know. So, they're going to write about, in the running race for the male, they're going to write about Lamont. Then they're going to have to get, you know, somebody who runs and then comes and writes it to talk about a woman, a female. You know what I mean? And in the same cycle race, if
Dominic?
No, yeah, if Dominique and Caitlin, they'll be the talk. But obviously, you have Caden, you have Connor. They don't know too much about Connor, so someone's going to have to write that for them. But Connor's been racing all year.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So it's crazy to think we get to this big day, and all of a sudden it's a guess. Let me see. Can you point out who's who? What? It's a poor job we do. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So you're saying that we should provide more coverage for
definitely, because these guys compete. Like Peter said it, every 2 weeks. Right. Every 2 weeks they're racing. Every other week they're doing a road race. It's the same people. Same people running, same people riding.
Right.
No difference.
So
doing the same speeds.
What do you think from the media perspective? Well, how do you think the media should cover more of it then?
Get out and cover it.
Yeah.
Just get out and you can't say you don't know it's one. You can't say you don't know it's one.
They send out the information.
Yeah.
They inform.
Can't say. And to be honest, and this is a true fact, if they don't write the story, it don't get reported. They just send results, that's it. You know, so it's unfortunate the people that will now get all the accolades on Friday, who should be getting them on a regular basis, like other sports, they should be getting them all the time. And then they'll become household names. They become people that want to be like them. People want to get into it, get involved. Because not everybody's going to be a footballer and a cricketer. But there are opportunities out there for people to get involved in cycling, to get involved in running. Don't have to run a half. There's not a half marathon every week.
No.
You know what I mean? There's 5Ks. There's 10Ks. There's 8Ks. You know? So, but to each his own, they, you know, however they want to handle it, that's how they handle it. So,
do you think it's also done this way because it's the way to start our summer, meaning the media coverage? This is the way we start our summer.
No, they're only interested in certain things. Yeah, because I always say to organizations, if a person does not compete or a person does not show up, they're disqualified. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing should happen to the media. Because you show me no interest.
Disqualified.
No, not just.
No. Yeah. Okay. So before we wrap up,
but on to bigger and better things.
Yes, sir.
CONCACAF has released the 40-man rosters for the upcoming Gold Cup, And of course, Bermuda's involved and
Yep.
play on the 16th, 20th, and 24th.
June.
June,
Right.
yes. For the Bermuda 40 players in alphabetical order. Doesn't mean that these guys are so alphabetical order. Osaji Bascom, Chikosi Bayeston, Jalen Bather, Keyshawn Bean, Dante Brengman, Casey Milan Butterfield, Casey Castle, Billy Clemens, Kane Critchlow, who we talked about earlier,
Mhm.
Justin Donowa, Paul Douglas, Killian Eccleston, Liam Evans, Dale Eve, Jakari Furbett, Naeem Griffith, Oliver Harvey, Jaquil Hill, Quinacio Hunt, Roger Lee, Dante Levrock, Zico Lewis, Randall Trey Ming, Callan Miners, Diego Richardson, Sequoia Robinson, Takia Russell, Norrie Scott, Lejon Simmons, Jonte Smith, Rozier Smith Jones, Aaron Spencer, Reggie Lamb, Ernest Trott, Tavon Tyrrell, Darren Usher, Marco Warren, McKee Wells, William White, and Deshaun Cooper. So those are the 40 names that have been submitted to CONCACAF for Bermuda's Gold Cup team that will take on Haiti on June 16th in Costa Rica, and then take on Costa Rica in Texas on the 20th of June before finishing with Nicaragua on the 24th of June in New York, or New Jersey.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. 40-man roster.
Down to 23 selected.
And when's the 23 going to be cut down?
Not 100% sure, but
Okay.
We should know soon.
Cool. And so then the others 17 did not make it there on standby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
those are the ones that if someone gets injured
Yep.
or something happens, they can pull from that 17 pool. So,
Right. 17 and replace.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Wow,
Yeah.
40-man. And anything
So
can
we have.
happen.
So to be honest, if you look at it, we have close to, I think it was 14 local players. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 local players
Of the
of
40.
the 40.
Not
Yeah.
bad. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. So
So that's 27 that from overseas.
either overseas or unattached.
Okay. All right. Any final comments before we wrap up, sir, regarding
Just looking forward to a good Friday. Hopefully, this weather that's we're waiting for to materialize on Tuesday kind of skirts away from us and gives us a break. The unfortunate thing, if it does form, not so much the wind and the rain, it's the humidity that comes from these type of fronts that move through.
That's true. So that means could be a high
Yeah,
humidity on Friday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
runners, stock up.
Stock up. Drink plenty of liquid.
Yeah.
Same for cyclists.
Yep.
All right. We wish all the athletes, male, female, cyclists, runners, young adults, the youngsters,
Mhm.
all the best on Friday. And each and every one of you are all winners.
Yep.
Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I'm Ian Rollins, along with Earl Basin and Don Bassett. Do take care.
Inside Sports Talk Radio. This presentation.